Okay, welcome to this training module, which I have titled Models of Self-Reliance. Before we get started, you may notice if you've been watching my videos, my voice is different. It's because I recently had braces installed in my mouth. And so hopefully in the next couple of months, I'll be learning how to speak again. But until then, please pardon my lisp as we work through our course content. So this is basically part two of what we were discussing last week, but in the context of these job realities. So I want to share with you one of the most impactful presentations that I have ever personally received. It's the cash flow quadrant, and it's by Robert Kiyosaki. He wrote a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He's primarily a real estate guy right now, and has been for some time. He became an icon in sales and entrepreneurial circles. And the reason is for his thoughts and his insights on how to differentiate the employee from a business owner and into an investor. Okay. And this is what we were talking about last week. The idea of how education is the difference between being reliant on a job and becoming self-reliant through the different options that education gives us. It goes very well with these modules that we are going through week to week in this class. So I believe you will get a lot of value from it. So this is the cash flow quadrant. In the top left, you've got the employee. Now the employee, they have a job. They're paid for their time. If they're not at work, they don't get paid. And even if it's a salaried position or a sales job and you're not being paid by the hour, you're still being paid for your time. Then below that, you've got the self-employed person, and they're also generally selling their time for money. They might also be selling services or products, a hairstylist or a mechanic or a craftsman. The benefit is that a self-employed person has more control over what they get paid. They can make their own prices rather than accept wages. But the issue is that they cannot make money if they are not doing the work themselves. They have to be working, providing services, or creating the product they sell. So this self-employed person is still limited in their self-reliance. They're reliant on time. And you may be thinking, Kevin, what if I were to set up an e-commerce website or create digital products that I can scale? I don't have to sell every single one of them, and I don't have to create a new product every single time. Well, that's actually an important difference between just a self-employed person and a business owner. A business owner has a system that works for them, and the business owner actually owns that system. That could be a website. That could be other employees that create up a labor force. A business owner thinks of time and money differently than an employee or a self-employed person. They don't sell their time for money. They use their money and receive back time. Like the example I'm giving of having a website. You're paying for the website, the hosting, the domain name, and you get to go to bed at night, and yet it's still working for you. A business owner will also use advertising, which may involve spending money in order to get back time, which means they don't have to be at every sales call. They don't have to be talking directly to everyone. A system does it for them. Now, they may have to be there for the actual close of the sale. They may need to deliver the client. Or if they have so many leads coming in, they could afford to hire a salesperson and a customer service representative. And again, this is a system. But what are you doing with a system working for you? Are you sitting out on a boat somewhere, relaxing? No, you're continuing to build the business. You earned time, and that way you can leverage your time and not have to give away your time for money. Okay. And then you finally have the investor. And now, as we will discuss and have discussed, investing is education, investing in the here and now for a future outcome. Okay. And these are not simple, just like the paths to self-reliance, they're not two-dimensional. You can be self-employed, working and selling services on the side and be a full-time employee. At a certain point, you're going to have to commit to being a a completely self-employed person or a business owner if you want to actually see the type of freedom that comes from being self-reliant. Okay. Now, again, I always like to look at this as a non-linear path, more three-dimensional. And, most people, that's what they do. They just stick to one path. They do whatever feels best, but there are other options, multiple sides to this cash flow quadrant. So I want to use this and view the cash flow quadrant as a model, and that is the model of self-reliance. So what we've done is we've shifted just slightly the cash flow quadrant so that we can see the sides and the tops of some of the quadrants. Okay. And what the employee is primarily working for is experience. They're gaining experience. Last week, we talked about your priority should be learning and not earning at the onset of your career, right? But what they can do is they can offer their time for money at another job, and they're leveraging that experience. This is based on what they are leveraging. What are the two reasons that people get hired, right? They either have the training or they did the job somewhere else. So the employee is able to use the experience to step up a few rungs on the ladder, perhaps get a better paying job, or perhaps get a promotion. Those were the things we talked about last week. A business owner, however, is going to leverage their ability to operate a system. They know how that system works. They know how the website works. They know how the advertising works. For example, if they're working as a plumber, they're self-employed as a plumber, but they think, hey, I know how to run a plumbing business. I'm doing it as a one-man show. Let me scale it and hire other plumbers to do the dirty work. No pun intended. The plumber is now going to be a business owner, and they're going to operate the business at scale. He's going to say, okay, I'm offering many plumbers to take care of many problems that customers may have, right? So while on one house, they have a clogged drain, another has a toilet that needs to be removed, the other one has a water leak, right? So he's selling a solution to the problem. And they're not selling their experience. They will likely have the experience, but they're going to be leveraging their operational ability and their ability to solve problems for customers. And then the investor is really leveraging and selling the education and the learning that they have, their combined experience, perhaps in the field, but also their ability to operate a business. And that comes in the form of education. They've learned skills. Okay. Now, we're only focusing on certain aspects of this, but the reason that the business can perform in this way is because the business owner has the necessary education. Either they spent money to get the education by paying for special training, or they spent their time to learn the plumbing business and what people need from their plumber. What earns plumbers the most money? And then they did that. We call it the rat race, right? Of being an employee or being a self-employed person, and they're just selling their time for money. Now, these business owners are selling their money for more time. They've leveraged their knowledge. The investor does the same thing. They have learned what to do, and they are applying what they know. Okay, they're applying it against what other people are doing. And so this model of self-reliance suggests that education is the differentiator between thinking like a business and thinking like an investor. And an employee or a self-employed person who is primarily focusing on gaining experience and then leveraging their experience in order to sell their time or sell their services, because they say, hey, I've done this for so long. I know how to do it very well. Don't you want someone who knows how to do it well? Well, yes, an employer or a client probably wants somebody who knows how to do it. However, experience is something that is going to take a lot of time. Education is the way to accelerate your acquisition of experience. And that way, you know exactly what the problems are that you need to solve. Next, I want to talk about hard work and effort, because we're taught that hard work is important. Effort is important. We know that due to emerging technology, work is going to be accomplished by machines more and more. But that doesn't mean that humans are going to be taken out of the picture. It's going to be the humans who input single units of effort to generate greater output. And we define that as leverage. Archimedes said, and I'm paraphrasing, give me a lever long enough and I'll move the earth. So understanding how work is going to be accomplished in the future is important in the context of the job realities that we've discussed this week and how jobs are really filled. People are hiring you to do work. And if you don't know how to leverage your skills and technology to generate greater output, then you will absolutely be passed over for a job opportunity, or when it comes time for promotion or time for a raise. You may be able to find a low-paying job where you are not required to leverage skills, but if you want to become self-reliant, you have to be able to leverage your skills and time and get more work done in less time. And this is only done through becoming more skilled. So you need to see why this class is called Education for Better Work. Yes, you can get an education and gain better quality employment, but since we know that companies hire people who can provide value, you want to gain an education so that you will be able to produce better work, more value, therefore commanding a more competitive salary if you choose to be an employee or start and operate a business that provides valuable services and solutions to high-paying customers. Okay. It takes us to this week's homework. We want to now dial in to that fourth quadrant of the cash flow quadrant, which coincides with the homework that we did last week. And we really want to build out our education plan. And what we want to do is we want to identify 2 in-demand skills. And really, you'll identify more than that. You can most easily do that by running a internet search of top 10 in-demand skills in your field, whatever the field is. And then I want you to choose 2 skills that you want to develop over the next 2 months and write those in there. And then you'll submit it back to me. And that will lead into next week's class and the assignment. So thank you so much for listening and attending this training. And I will see you soon.